That Goji guy made a new hybrid called Reiner. Shout out to this guy in my community for the Reiner genome, as you can see here. Now, despite Reiner's potential flaws, I gotta give it to Goji guy. This is a really cool hybrid in terms of design. That red head and manes are actually really cool. So, with the help of my community, I'm going to improve on the most unstoppable hybrid. Let's begin. Now, Reiner uses the Lisovicha as the base, with its primary method of attack being biting. Of course, as he said, herbivores are not really meant to attack unless provoked. Since we're making a Reiner 2.0, we might as well keep the Lisovicha as the base. I mean, this thing can reach 9 tons, so no one should be surprised. Its primary method of attack is biting, and those tusks could pierce through quite a lot of things. Goji guy did pick a good base for this hybrid. Okay, so I gotta be honest, I thought this was going to be a ceratopsian, judging on its redness of its head with all of those black parts. These look like frills, don't you think? So the next thing we're going to be adding is the Pachyrhinosaurus. Might as well double down on the ceratopsian pass. Unlike most other ceratopsians, the Pachyrhinosaurus does not have a nose horn. Rather, it has a bony lump on its nose called a boss, and even then the boss can provide some sweet blunt force damage, a whole lot of them. Now when my hybrid rams onto something with its boss, the boss is going to deal quite a lot of damage, while also protecting my hybrid's head, or at least a more refined version of Goji guy's hybrid. No nose horn means no instincts to gore, and thus more congruity galore. Also, ceratopsians are known to bite quite hard, even for non-avian dinosaurs. So we got more instincts to bite, hooray! Okay, so Triceratops horridus is going to be our third option. Didn't you say horns would mess with congruity? Well, yeah, actually it will give more congruity to ram. This is our second ceratopsian, and so adding on to the Lisovicha and the Pachyrhinosaurus, I don't think it's going to mess with congruity all that much. We can use the Triceratops horridus to increase the size for a hybrid just a little bit. That's a frill if you ask me, even though it's not really a frill. So the Triceratops horridus frill should suffice for protecting the neck. Triceratops also has a ball socket joint on its neck, so we're going to be using that to increase our creature's agility. Triceratops' forelimbs are also splayed out like a lizard, so we're also going to be incorporating that to increase our creature's maneuverability. And to avoid problems with agility, we're going to be using the Trike's bird hip structure, ornithischian hip structure. You know, Reiner's objective is to scare predators. Might as well double down even more with the Trike and the Pachyrhinosaurus. No, we're not using Trike horns. Sorry, not sorry. Now, the fourth contributor of our hybrid is going to be the MVP of Mortalodon, the vampire bat. Now, I asked Copilot, and it said that there is no significant evidence that short-tailed shrews have specialized iron metabolism adaptations similar to vampire bats. Reiner's short-tailed shrew of the skull means that it's probably going to die of iron poisoning. No amount of domestic pig is going to be able to save it. So if Reiner just decided to add a little bit more of vampire bat, which we're going to be using, perhaps the vampire bat could save Reiner from iron poisoning by its special iron transportation metabolism. And the vampire bat's unique immune system allows them to really be basically immune to diseases. There is a reason why the vampire bat is used in literally every single hybrid. That's because it provides so many useful traits that help the hybrid out. No, we're not using the vampire bat's fangs and all that. this is not, I repeat, this is not Mortalodon. So the next component is going to be the Arabian horse. Arabian horses don't have as many fast twitch muscles as most other horse breeds, but they have slow twitch muscles, which gives our hybrid much better endurance and stamina. Now, the Arabian horse has a slightly smaller relative heart mass compared to other horse breeds, but the Arabian horse also has a high maximal oxygen consumption relative to its body weight, facilitated by its heart capacity and a specialized spleen that releases additional red blood cells during excitement or exercise to increase oxygen delivery. So by incorporating the Arabian horse's cardiovascular system to the hybrid, we now have a hybrid that can endure quite a lot of exertion, and with a much more efficient oxygen transportation system. Like other horse breeds, the Arabian horse has those sweat gland systems that help it disperse heat. Their sweat contains something called lacerin, which helps spread sweat evenly across the hair coat, improving evaporation in dry conditions. They also tend to conserve electrolytes better than most other horse breeds. Now this hybrid has a whole bunch of Arabian horse sweat glands, hooray! Well, why aren't you using the Shire horse? Surely it's much stronger than the Arabian horse, and it also just is better overall. So here comes our next contributor, the Indian Gar. The Gar is chosen not just because of those horns to keep it faithful to the original. The Gar also has very good muscle density. Now, the Gar has a much greater muscle density than the bison. These guys can carry around 3 times their own weight, so we can use these traits to better allow Reiner, or, my version of Reiner, to better handle its front heaviness, given that my Reiner also has a boss. That shoulder hump really helps out a lot. Those horns are also better equipped for ramming and defending than the bison, and so it has more congruity with the Pachyrhinosaurus and Triceratops ram. So in conclusion, the Gar adds horns, a bunch of muscle density, as well as a whole bunch of weight handling traits to the hybrid. So component number 7 is going to be the Paleoparadoxia. So this thing will provide webbed hands and feet, as well as a bunch of claws on the hybrid. Oh god, on a terrestrial animal? It's not going to... Spinosaurus would like to have a conversation with you. Oh, by the way, the Paleoparadoxia also makes our hybrid semi-aquatic, so that's another plus. It has a higher density with larger lungs, allowing it to hold its breath underwater for quite a long time. So we're going to be incorporating its breath-holding adaptations to the hybrid. Also, Reiner's supposed to be able to hold breath underwater for quite a long time, so Reiner 2.0 needs to do the same thing. It also likely had behavior similar to that of a hippo, and so increased temperament, everyone. More congruity to also bite in combat. More social behavior adding on to every single one of the other 6 contributors. So really, we can add Paleoparadoxia without worrying about the repercussions. Okay, so Reiner used the Barbary lion, as you can see here. Reiner 2.0 likely would not have the same amount of manes as the original Reiner, but the contributor will be better than a Barbary lion, trust me. Normally we would use the cave lion, but we have something even better than the cave lion, and that is Panthera fossilis. Okay, does this count as having manes? I'm just going to go along with it. Panthera fossilis, being a gigantic cat larger than the cave lion itself, its descendant, gives our hybrid even stronger incisors and canines. It being a carnivore isn't that much of an issue, given that the majority of the contributors right now are herbivores, and so just cancel it out, most likely. Then again, it could just follow Gilgamesh's example and just become an omnivore. The next component is quite simple, really. The porcupine. Now, the porcupine has quills. These are hairs coated with keratin, making them stiff and sharp. These quills are barbed, and so they have an easier time just lodging into an aggressor. A porcupine will raise and vibrate its quills when threatened, and can actually detach those quills when being attacked, when in contact with an aggressor. So let's just incorporate the porcupine quills onto Reiner 2.0. Now Reiner has another way to defend itself. Yay! Our final component is the biggest monitor lizard of all time, the Megalania. Now, like Komodo dragons, the Megalania has venom glands that pump anticoagulants into their prey, causing them to slowly bleed out and die. Also, the Megalania has light, flexible armor, just like the Komodo dragon. Now, the main difference between the Megalania and Komodo dragon is, first off, the Megalania's musculature makes it more well-suited for handling heavy weights. Also, the Megalania has more beta-carotene in its scales than the regular Komodo dragon, and so this hybrid is even better protected. The Megalania's hunting gives it more congruity to bite. Okay, so let me address the elephant in the room. The Megalania is a solitary creature, while it's supposed to be a social animal, Reiner 2.0, and so will it mess with its all 9 animals are social. So the 10th animal, being solitary, shouldn't be that much of an issue. Now that we made Reiner better, let's introduce our new hybrid. This is Reiner 2.0, or Vegeta, or the Vanquisher. Height at around 10 feet at the hips, length at around 20 feet at the tail, weight at around 14 tons. By the way, 20 feet at the tail did not account for the porcupine quills, so there's that for you. I think this hybrid is going to serve the same purpose as Reiner, the original one, so not a fighter, but can be a fighter when it has to be a fighter. And it's got every single weapon in its arsenal to defend itself with. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, I'll see you all in the next one. Special thanks to channel members for supporting this channel. It helps out a ton.